state could lose. Get out of my shot.
I wanted to tell you that that's actually incorrect. It's not that it's electric vehicles. It's that if we don't meet the commitments under the Paris Climate Accord.
Okay, it does. Okay, you also were in my shot before that. Stay out of my shot.
Could these outbursts cost Porter the shot at being the next governor of California? She is the former White House press officer and chief of staff Democratic strategist Yemisi Egbiwole, and she is a political strategist and senior fellow at Frontiers of Freedom. Scotty Nell Hughes. Ladies, welcome. Thank you both so much for being here. Yemisi, let's start with you. What was your first reaction to seeing these clips?
Not surprising. I used to work on the Hill, so I really wasn't surprised. I'm glad other folks are catching up. One thing I will note is she spoke in such a sharp tone to that staffer, and the staffer did not flinch. So it wasn't the first time that had clearly happened, but the first time on camera.
Scotty, is there a bigger story here, or is this just a person who treats her staff very poorly and is very used to not being asked challenging questions by journalists?
Well, let me take this from a bigger picture. From Female in Politics, she gives us a very bad name and just aids into the stereotype that women are chaotic and they can't handle pressure. And let's just say this, if she can't handle questions without storming off an interview, imagine her in a crisis situation in California. And anybody that's followed the headlines the past year, California is a state that is known for having crises, both economic and natural disasters. So you need to have somebody who can handle a calm head. And she has multiple times demonstrated she's more about going viral than actually giving substance and real answers to problems.
I mean, Yemisi, there is sometimes a double standard on women. I'm sure all three of us have experienced that. Do you think that comes into play here at all, or is this just a very nasty person?
You know what? I used to work for Senator Amy Klobuchar, and I'm sure lots of people can have a separate conversation about the stories around her. But I always thought nobody's begging you to work on the Hill. There's 100 applications for each job, and they are tough jobs. I do think sometimes women can get an unfair rap. But to go back to what Scotty said, I mean, she sat in an interview and couldn't do any follow-up questions. And I think in this time, as Democrats are looking to the midterms and also to 2028, we can't have leading Democratic candidates that aren't willing to come up with solutions and answers to pull in voters that they haven't convinced yet. And also, California has a deep Democratic bench. I mean, Xavier Becerra is also running. He used to be the district attorney there. He was in Congress for many years. She doesn't have to be the hill we all die on. She had such a poor performance in this interview. She's the front runner, and it's okay if she makes her way a little bit to the back on this.
Scotty, I wonder if you, like I, had a reaction to where it was like, these Democrats totally expect the media to be on their side. Like, she was so shocked to be asked a follow-up question, which is like totally normal part of the process of being interviewed. Do you think this also revealed a double standard in how the media treats Democrats?
Well, as a conservative, I'm supposed to say yes, but let me just point out that I think you're seeing it on both sides. I'm supposed to say yes, but
no, we love somebody who breaks from the mold.
Absolutely. I think this is what's missing in journalism today is we are not supposed to just ask one follow-up. I appreciate and respect that reporter for asking 7, continuing to hold these politicians' feet to the fire, regardless of the aisle they're on. And if you cannot handle it, you should not be in office, because these reporters are supposed to be acting like the people and what the people want to know. And I think this shows that yes, maybe Democrats might have had a softer hand in the past, especially when we're dealing with the White House. On the other hand, though, when it gets to local politics, I think these local reporters have a more direct byline to the people. And so they're getting it. If they don't ask the questions of these elected officials or people who want to be in these offices, they're the ones that get the hate emails. They're the ones that have to answer the people. So I think these local reporters, bravo for continuing to hold the local officials' feet to the fire.
Scotty Nell Hughes and Yemisi Egbiwole, stay with us, because up next we are going to be talking about 2 New Yorkers going head-to-head in the halls of Congress, and I want to get your take on this.
Did your boss Donald Trump?
Easily extend
Did your
the
boss,
ACA
did your
right
boss
now.
Donald Trump
He's
give
not
you
my
permission?
boss.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not. And by the way,
so let me ask you a
why
question.
did you vote to
Let me
shut
ask
the
you a
government
question.
down?
You
Why
know
did you vote to shut it down?
Let me ask you a question.
For years, you always
Well,
lectured about how we need to keep the government open.
You're making a show of this to
No,
make
it's
yourself
sad.
relevant.
It's sad. You could easily sign on to
You're
this.
embarrassing
You
yourself
could
right
sign
now.
on. got a 1-year extension. Why
Yeah,
don't we
did
sign
you-
on right
let
now?
me ask you a question. Did you
Why
get-
don't we
did
sign
you
on
get
right
permission
now?
from your boss?
Why don't we sign on right now?
Did your boss, Donald
you
Trump?
can easily extend
Did
the
your boss,
ACA
did your
right
boss,
now.
Donald Trump,
He's
give
not
you
my
permission?
boss.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not. And by the way,
So let me ask you a
why
question.
did you vote to
Let me
shut
ask
the
you a
government
question.
down?
You
Why
know
did
I
you
didn't-
vote to shut it
Let
down?
me ask you a question.
For years, you
Well,
always
you're
lectured about
making-
how we need to
you're
keep the
making
government
You're
open.
making a show of this to
No,
make
it's
yourself
sad.
relevant.
It's sad. You could
It's
easily
an
sign on to
You're
this.
embarrassing
You
yourself
could
right
sign
now.
on to this. The only
You're
embarrassment
chasing
here is
clout.
you.
You're an embarrassment.
You could sign on to the bill.
Let me ask you a question.
You have 4 Democrats on here.
Let me
Why
ask you a
won't you
question.
sign on
Let me ask
to
you a
it?
question.
It's a
Let
clean
me ask
extension
you a
for 1
question.
year.
You voted for the one big
Clean
ugly bill,
extension.
correct?
I voted for a
The
tax cut
largest-
bill that gave the
the
largest
largest
tax
cut-
cut
the
to
largest-
Americans in history,
the
including, by the
largest-
way, the average New Yorker getting a $4,000 tax cut. Are you against that?
You're embarrassing
Do you want
yourself
to
right
you want
now.
to cut the standard deduction in
The
half? Is that
largest
what you
cut
wanted
to
to do?
Medicaid in
No, we
American
voted
history.
out
You voted
waste
for that.
That was New York Republican Mike Lawler confronting fellow New York Congressman and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries over the shutdown. The clip had everything: grandstanding for the cameras, useless bickering, talking points aimed at the deepest depths of the base. It was a real sign of the times. Let's bring in Yemisi Egbiwole and Scotty Nell Hughes to react. Yemisi, let me start with you. Isn't this what the American people just absolutely hate about our government right now?
Yeah, I mean, polling shows that the shutdown isn't working for either side at this moment. And I know there's pressure on Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries to kind of show some really strong leadership. And look, I would never want to follow Nancy Pelosi in anything. So he definitely has to perform a little bit and show some strength here. But I just don't know if this Jeffries-Lawler act is really going to move polling or belief on either side for their constituencies. But it's great to see New York politics in action.
Scotty, what was your reaction to this clip? Do you think either of them came off better than the other?
I feel like I'm watching an episode from The Real Housewives of Capitol Hill, and both of the guys deserve Emmys for their performances. Let me just point it out. I mean, maybe a little bit more hair pulling if they both had hair. Listen, both of these guys, they accomplished what they wanted. They showed to their bases that they are angry and they're upset with the other party, and they pointed the fingers at each other. But as you actually point out, Batya, this is what the American people hate right now about the shutdown, about what's happening in Washington, D.C. There are real issues now starting to happen on the grassroots, out in Main Street, being felt by this shutdown, whether you're at the airports, whether you were talking about services being offered. There's some real issues as we go on to week 2 about this. And our government, I think that both the House and the Senate do not deserve their paychecks until, and they need to stay right there and do their job, because that's what you and I would have to do if we were in the same situation.
Yemisi, how do we get out of this? I mean, everybody is so locked into their corners. You can only control your own side, you know? I mean, we can only really control ourselves. But what would your message be to politicians, media people about how we claw our way out of this deep polarization of our elites?
I mean, I would tell them that there's a reason that this Congress is polling at historic levels for elected officials. And I'd point out that, look, the impacts of this are about to hit everyday people. I mean, they're not even going to be able to catch flights out of Washington. They might actually be forced to stay here. If those essential workers, like the folks who work at TSA and our air traffic controllers, decide to be pencils down and not show up to work, there are folks whose day-to-day lives are dependent on some kind of bipartisan agreement. And if they cannot see and feel the hurt of it, then maybe the air traffic controller should take a day off from the Reagan National Airport and let them stay in Washington and figure it out.
Scotty, how does the shutdown end? Is there an end in sight? What do you envision in the coming week about how this ends?
Well, let me just point out that historically there's been shutdowns that have happened when both Republicans and Democrats have been in power, and they've either really hurt going into the midterms or they've helped. I think it's going to be depending on what actually can be the result from it. You know, the Republican stance is you have to pass a clean bill. It's something that's all they're asking, and that's what a lot of Americans don't understand why that's such a hard decision to make. So it's all going to be about the messaging, which I happen to disagree. I think the Republicans are winning on this front because the reality of it is our base doesn't like the government working. We think the federal government should be shut down and give more power back to the states. So as long as that continues, this actually works good for the Republicans and a much needed boost going into the midterms.
Scotty Nell Hughes and Yemisi Egbiwole, thank you both so much. That was really fun. Coming up, what I would like to see from